I'm Michael Gilbert, and this is Street Smart, helping you execute the dangerous curves of business and life. All right, Michael Gilbert here with Street Smart. I'm here with the great Chris Burke. Hey, Chris, how's it going, man?
Hey, how are you, Michael?
I'm wonderful.
It's going good, actually. It's a really good week. How about yourself?
Today was great. I just had something hit the plate and just walked out and spent a lot less than I thought I was going to. I was like, what? Wait, what? So, blessings from heaven, if you want to. Just
That's always good. That's always good.
always love those little surprises, especially with just everything going on that has been going on in my life. So, it's I'll take it. I'll take what I can get. So, tell our viewers or listeners a little bit about Chris Burke. Who's Chris Burke? What do you do? And how does that help our viewers, which are business owners?
So I could fill your whole podcast with just jabbering on about myself, but I consider myself a creative. I do a lot of different things. I played music for years, but I'm a video maker, filmmaker, video creator. Some people have different terms for it. In my business, the term that everybody identifies with is video production, right? But the one thing that I always start with that because you get it when I say that, but we do things a little differently. When it comes to, like, I can give it to you like this, and this is the salesy, the story brand. If you're familiar with story brand, they talk about the one-liner or whatever. But imagine that you spend all this time, like you work really hard on making a video, right? You get it all together, you plan it, you put it together, and you release it to the world, and nobody watches it, right? It like crickets, right? Yeah. So have I. So at Burke Creative, we create videos that are focused on like specializing in story-driven assets or story-driven video that will like attract your customers and cause them to like be connected and engage and,
Right.
Which will inspire action basically. So that's kind of the whole gist behind it. It's different for everybody. It's really just getting down and getting involved in the planning, and the word in like my circles of video creators is strategy that gets thrown around. So it's not just, hey, tell me what video you want to make and then we'll run and go make it. That's kind of the old school way of doing it. And sometimes that's not to say that you don't have like a good idea or that maybe what you would do isn't going to work, but in an effort of trying to figure out like, how can we make something that actually is going to solve the problem you're trying to solve? Because maybe that, I love to say this because it just like, kind of hopefully helps prove the point. But even if that means it doesn't need to be a video, like if there's a way to do it on your phone, like, I mean, I guess that's still a video, but
Right.
doesn't necessarily have to be that you set up cameras and lights and hire a crew to like shoot it. You may be able to get it done with a picture, so what is that solution?
The phones today are just so powerful. I see people shooting film on just a phone.
Yeah. And sometimes I think it's like, it's more important that you do that. Like when realtors go live or when, anybody can go live, it's coaches,
Right.
but people will listen more often or will pay attention. I know there's statistics behind it and there's data that shows that they give priority to lives and all that stuff. But I think as a human, sometimes if you're really connected to someone and you really like what they're doing, when they pop up, if you're not doing nothing, you're going to watch what they say, then it's up to you to keep them interested after you go live and you start doing stuff. But
It has to be engaging.
yeah, but same goes for if you're going to do a testimonial. I don't think there's anything wrong with you shooting it, in selfie mode while you're like, as the business owner, while you're saying, hey, this is so-and-so, and they just came through our business, and talk a little bit about it. Nobody's going to be like, oh, the production value on this is terrible. Of course.
Yeah. I have a friend that shoots, he's called a press car guy, and he gets new cars every week to drive. And he told me many months ago, his name's Brian Grant. If you want to go follow him on YouTube, he's got a great YouTube following if you're a car guy. It's called New Car Spin. And he said, I spent all this time shooting this film because he gets the cars, right? The manufacturers send him a car. He drives and he gives his brutal, honest truth. If it's a piece of crap, he'll just say it. And he would spend all this time editing down this film and get very few views. People just wouldn't watch it or they wouldn't like it. And he goes, I learned just full transparency, shoot it, upload it. That's it. He doesn't even spend a whole lot of time. Now, for what he does, that's great, right? There's other times when you need production quality or a little bit higher value, but I always found that interesting.
Yeah, it's true. I barely use my YouTube. I have some videos that are a couple thousand views, but which is awesome for me. Don't get me wrong. But the reason why they have higher views is because of the content. It's because of the title or what I'm talking about. And the majority of them are shot on my phone because that was my gig when I started, like I'm going to just do this on my phone so that I actually do it and not worry about setting up. Now I have videos that I have spent more time on and set up real cameras and tripods and tried to make something of it.
Right.
And I still think there's some value, but it takes a lot longer and it makes it harder for you to be consistent. And, so there's definitely a struggle there with figuring out like, if it's something you're into, which it's kind of a hobby of mine. So setting up lights and cameras, sometimes I'll do it for something that may not get any views because I just like doing it. But when you talk about spending money and stuff, that's kind of what started us down this path doing it with our business, is because we didn't want to create any more videos. Like, this is going to sound really salesy, but it's true. Like, we didn't want to create any more videos that we put up and then we were all like excited about, and then like literally none of their followers did anything. And you were like, man, that looks so good, I thought. And it's like, nobody cared,
I so relate. We, you and I were discussing earlier before we came on, when I ran an incubator called The Garage here in Dallas, in the DeBellum area, we had a studio set up with lights and mics and everything in our office space. And we interviewed the startups that were coming through our incubator or our accelerator. And then we'd broadcast down to DeBellum on air. And then they would broadcast over to Clear Channel. And there was just so much involved. And then finally, a guy came in and just said, "I'm going to take it over for you. I'm going to handle it. All I had to do was show up." And it was a cheap webcam and a 4-question format. I think we were on 30 minutes once a week, and every 15 minutes we would interview 2 different startups. Every 15 minutes, and it was very simple: 2, 3, 4 questions, and it's really about messaging. To me, it's how powerful is that message? Do you think graphics come into play too, as far as, if you're putting it out on social media, or maybe talk about where do you put this content and why are we shooting it? Does that come into play?
Yeah. So I think a lot of it, and what's funny is I'm going to throw it back. If you guys are a part of the Facebook group that Michael has, it's, you posted this like literally just before we got on, but talking about the different touch points with customers. And I think that's the main thing. So even if it's you shooting it on your phone, graphics, no graphics, professional quality, I think honestly, you could even throw this back to like YouTube and like why people do YouTube videos. You should just get started, whatever it is, making content, worry about graphics and production quality later, because it'll come. As you start to get better at it, or you start getting some money to put aside for it, you'll start being able to figure out, like, do I need, a camera, or do I need to bring in someone to help me with this, or do I need to start planning it? Of course, everything you can do ahead of time is going to always, like, I would say that production quality is not as important as the message, but I mean, if you can do both, you're going to do a little bit better, faster. But sometimes people get too caught up. They always like say this on YouTube where like gear doesn't matter. And I think, you could also say, well, if gear doesn't matter, then how come all the professionals use really nice gear? But they're really just saying that because they don't want you to get caught up in trying to get everything perfect before you do anything. So I kind of, relating that to graphics, would say it's really what you need to do, whatever you need to do to keep people engaged and interested and get the information across is important. So even in video, when we use visuals, like maybe it would be B-roll or graphics, or
Right.
just trying to move the story along and how you structure the story, is all in an effort to try and hook them in and keep them watching.
So what equipment do you use?
For myself,
is that a long laundry list?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I shoot on we don't use big. So I come from like the run and gun filmmaker world, like wedding world or whatever, before I started doing it for businesses. So we have a lot of the equipment, we have gimbals and things that we can use, and sometimes, especially when COVID hit last year, there's some value to being able to have like a 1-man film crew if you can get an interview done and not have to have a bunch of people, on set or whatever. It's nice when you have them though. You can hire them. So it really just kind of depends. But with equipment, like, 'cause for instance, I literally just started last week trying to do value-based content rather than just me like trying to think, like just sharing the videos that I create and just,
Now, what do you mean by that, value-based content?
so, and it's like a buzzword, right? But it is, I hate it myself. I don't like saying it, but I know I have to refer to it that way so that people, if you're just learning it, kind of like I'm still figuring it out myself.
I am too.
And you've seen it in the wild because it's the videos where people have like the black bars above their video on LinkedIn or something that says something clickbaity. That's like, are you getting enough customers, or are you doing whatever it is that makes you go, okay, I'll buy it. Huh?
You want a second?
Yeah. So it really just kind of comes down to, and I feel like it's the easiest thing in the world when you realize what you really need to be doing is just speaking to things that are either going to help your customer, or which I think is going to do the best, honestly. If you can give away the keys of the kingdom, as they say, like with video, one of the more powerful videos we make is a brand message where we talk about, like, I could literally tell you how to make one. Now, I don't think, like, to toot my own horn, that if you go and do it yourself, it's going to be as good as somebody who's been training to do it. But I think if I give you the gist, you'd be able to make something happen. And people watching that, and maybe they don't have the money to spend on a video, can go at least get started doing something, right? So also talking about speaking to their misconceptions. Maybe, your customers are afraid that it's going to cost too much. So you might talk about that and just like try and sell the value. But that's getting into sales and all that stuff. I really think what's an easy thing for content for me right now, this is literally the path I'm taking myself currently right now, is just thinking, hey, I learned this in a marketing book that I'm learning right now. Maybe the way that the heading was, your customers need to be happy. Like, customers, when they're happy, they buy, or something like that. And just kind of relating.
They spend more money. And that's what what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Even another one that I'll give you is with story driven content. The reason why we use that one and why it's our niche or whatever is because when there's like a good character and a story, people connect to that character, and literally there's like science behind it and stuff. But when, in the beginning, the character's trying to achieve something, and when they achieve it and you are witnessing that moment of, their touchdown, they're throwing on the ball, neurologically, you're actually like, your brain is firing exactly the same as theirs when it's done right. You're actually like experiencing it the same way. It's why we all feel that when we watch movies or when we see things that make us feel. So if you can do that when you're creating, marketing content and stuff like that, people are connected to what you're doing. And so again, done right with the story, it will cause them to take action because they'll want to do it because they want that so if it's like a nonprofit that's trying to get donations, they want that for the character in the story. They want to give because they want to, help because they want to see this person achieve their dreams, because you're invested now, so I think I want to.
Yeah, and that's all right. We're going to go down some rabbit trails, I'm sure. I think one of my favorite filmmakers here in Dallas is Michael Caine. He does films with a purpose, or films with a message for a lot of nonprofits, EarthX, and the list goes on. But he was I believe, the director on the Jobs film for Steve Jobs.
Cool.
Did the Star Wars documentary. But he's just really good at telling stories, right? And so that, in our business, that's what we tell people. We tell stories, or we help our clients tell stories. And I do that in the way of, I'm going to take your financials, because financials are just boring. You look at a spreadsheet, but they do tell a story, right? So the more we get out there and we start marketing ourselves, which we haven't really had to do that a lot. And now that I'm just dipping my toe into the online marketing space, we're beginning to understand that it's the same messaging of whether you're trying to attract an investor, whether you're trying to attract new customers, new partners, maybe some joint venture part, whatever that is. And video is just so compelling. You look at all the statistics, everything's on the phone now, right? Very, very little of this is on your desktop, your laptop. I look at my own children. They watch everything on their phone. They watch movies on their phone, which I can't stand, because I love film. I like going to the theater, but or at least having a big screen to watch it on. But it's just kind of amazing to see that they sit there with this little device and watch film. And most of it, they don't even watch film. They watch TikTok. It's 5 second, 10 second, 15 second engagement. And so do you think that is relevant to business as well as doing 15 second engagement, or is 15 minute engagement better? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that it's honestly it's tailored to the business. I know that's like a vague answer, but it's I think even Gary Vee's talked about this if you're familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk or whatever, that it's like what I'm going to say anyways, is I think it's important that we like learn them all. Like I think that you need to like try them out and see what works for you. I don't think that, you're going to have to be on every single platform just like hitting it strong unless that's something that's conducive to like how you work and your process and everything. If you have a team and you can pull it off, then you might as well, because like, again, going back to Gary Vee, if you're not on TikTok and all your efforts are in Facebook and Facebook goes down, but like now you have to figure TikTok out. You got to go,
Right.
like everybody's moved over there. So
Well,
you
you hear
can
two
do,
sides of that, right? You hear some people say pick one platform and just, pound the hell out of it. But then you look at, I don't want to get into politics, but you look at what happened with Parler and people leaving and going to Parler, and I'm not going to be on Facebook anymore. And I'm like, yeah, we will. We're not going anywhere. We're not going to be on Google. Yes, we are. We're not going anywhere because those are the platforms. That's where everyone is.
yeah, it's hard because you're right. When Parler happened for a second, I kind of was like, oh no, what do I do? Like, I mean, I guess it's fine. I'm going to, cause I'm going to stay on it because of my business. Like you just
Right.
said, like, I'm not going to go anywhere, but yeah, I know there's probably people that I'm not able to market to on Facebook now because they're not on there. So it's just, I guess that's just the way business happens. You're just going to have to catch them in a different area, or, maybe they'll come back. I don't know. I don't know. I live my life now where I don't, regardless of politics or whatever, I try not to worry too much about like I've just got to roll with the punches basically. So, and figure out what I need to do. But yeah, with the platforms, I'm barely getting into the TikTok thing myself, but I'll be honest, it's for the silliest reason. I'm all for jumping on whatever's new. And I'm like scatterbrained in that sense. And I don't love it because it just means I can't focus, because being focused is good too. But I liked TikTok, or the part I appreciated about it was that there was hilarious content. There was people that were really good at doing like little quick comedy skits, or they would do things that were, I'm trying to think, like they were providing, like it was a different escape. And it wasn't like, I didn't want to cloud it with my business crap is basically what I'm saying. Like I didn't want to come out there and be like, hey, let me talk to you about marketing when there's a bunch of people just having fun,
Right.
So I realized that that's not necessarily true. People focus on what they want to focus on. So there's no reason, if you have content and you like doing it, you should do it. Even if it means you're dancing and pointing to different, like if that's your thing, do it, but you don't have to do that. You can,
Right.
there's literally people that make TikToks that tell you how to make TikToks, and you don't have to show your face, or you don't have to sing, or you don't have to dance or whatever. So, I mean, you just got to dig for it and you'll find your way to do it, I guess.
You're following your tribe.
Yes. Yeah. And eventually we're all going to go there. That's the other thing with social. I was one of the first people on Facebook when we were all allowed to be, not one of the college students, but we moved there from MySpace because
Right.
we were like trying something different than what MySpace was doing. And from there on, it just kind of is the same thing. Instagram was about taking photos and doing cool filters on it. And it's eventually we're going to all move there. So you may start out by being like, I don't want to be on TikTok, but eventually you're going to be like, dude, you should have been on TikTok yesterday, because now you're behind.
Funny, I think one of my daughters asked me, said, "You're on Instagram, Dad?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't have anything in your account." There was nothing in there, and then I found out you can connect your Facebook and your Instagram, and I think it's connecting now. I don't check it, but right now we're just getting to fully understand Facebook, and geez, I feel like I know about 10% of that. What are some of the things that you can share with our viewers and listeners if they're just getting started in the benefits of doing that?
So I would say, kind of going along, just getting started, I would just find, again, like kind of what works for you, what platform resonates with you. There's so many different businesses. There's so many different ways you could go about it. But I know, Instagram is kind of picking up a similar thing to Reels right now. So in a way, it's different to me is what I'm saying. Like the point I'm making is just with this small example, you may not be into like being on TikTok. Maybe you think it's for teenagers or whatever. Instagram has almost, I don't want to say more mature because there's still kids on there doing it, but it's a little more business aligned. It's a little bit more, it kind of has the same format, allows you to create that 15-second, I guess, video content or whatever. The cool thing about Reels and TikTok is that you're able to edit kind of almost the video in real time. So over just pulling up and doing like a selfie video or a live video, you can actually tailor it a little bit. And that's kind of like coming full circle to what we talked about too, with you even talking about story driven, all these different things. The power of video really is the fact that you can perfectly script it. And I don't mean that in a way that you're going to like, be dishonest or like trick people or anything like that. But sometimes it takes you an hour to get something out in a live or 30 minutes, that
Right.
really you only need like 2 minutes of or something. And, you can create these videos. So to get started, I would say figure out something that you kind of are curious about. Maybe you're just like, maybe you don't show it to nobody. Maybe you keep it private or whatever, but just create a couple pieces. I like that you think that's funny because you can do that. You can just share a reel or a TikTok to yourself and just start creating them, come up with an idea. And honestly, for me, like the last couple of days, I got one today as I was writing something for something else I was doing. And I was filling out, they were asking me a question about something, what makes our business different. And I realized, oh, that's a piece of content that I could make. That, a good example is I gave you guys my story brand pitch earlier, where I said, imagine you worked really, really hard on a video and, it didn't work. And then just like what I can do is just sit down in front of my camera, just like this, turn it on, which is why I have this camera here so that I can literally sit down and not have any excuses. My microphone's right here. And, that's really easy to get set up. You just look around on the web. There's all kinds of people on YouTube that will show you how to do a basic, like little webcam setup or whatever, but you get it set up, you flick the camera on and you just kind of start going. And then you can trim off the beginning and the end if you kind of stumbled over your words and then just post it online. And just over time, you'll get better at figuring out a way to write out an outline of what you want to talk about. And, maybe you start building in an intro that you reuse or something, but it all kind of comes later. I think if you start focusing on all those details at first, you'll get overwhelmed and think like, this is too big. You just need to sit down and just talk to people and just be honest.
Oh man, we tried to do this probably 10 years ago, maybe longer. And I created hundreds of videos and no one watched them. And I spent thousands of dollars getting a camera, and I got a tablet and attachments for the tripod so I could get, and then I bought an app that was a teleprompter. So I'd script it out and I'd have to practice over and over and over. And I got it to where I could look at the teleprompter, and the camera and the teleprompter were so far away that no one could tell I was reading the teleprompter. It looked like I was looking right into the camera because they're right on top of each other. But I just spent so much time doing that. And then we'd drop in a background. I forget what those are called. There's a word for it. Maybe, for the green screen. And then I get them out and all my buddies are like, dude, you're in a suit and tie. You never wear a suit and tie. What are you doing in a suit and tie? And I still have all of those videos. And so someone actually told me, says, dude, just get rid of the video and use the audio. But I did find out that, a good mic and just listening to yourself, because we all hate listening to ourselves, but just get over it. But, sounding like, and for me being from Texas and, I listen to myself and man, I sorry about that. I'll edit that out. That popped up right then. I thought I'd turn my phone off. But
no worries.
It was just a lot of time and effort putting into making all these videos that no one watched. And I think to me, the more raw it is, the more real, the more transparent, it seems like people respond to that better than and I'm not saying not have it professionally done. I'm just saying polished. You don't have to be polished. Just get out there and do it. And then as you get better,
well, and
start making money.
Yeah,
hire the guys to do it that are good at it, because what we're learning in the groups that we're in is focus is key.
Yeah. And adding to that, like I would say there's place for professional video too. If you're going to do something that's evergreen, that's on your website, that is like, it's specifically for a thing, maybe it's, it's something that you're going to use, especially if you have a big company and you're using it for, onboarding of new, I don't know why I keep saying clients. I want to say the employees. Like if you're doing something that maybe needs to look a little bit more polished or be more concise, there's times and places for that. But if it's online, I think I may have got off on a rabbit trail, but just saying like what you said is the point is you don't want to make it too overcomplicated. You don't worry about, especially if you don't wear a suit normally, like you said, then don't like dress how you are, be comfortable and just be real. And even if you stumble over your words, leave it in there. You'd be surprised how many times, because I send email videos a lot, to like cold email people or do different things like that. And I try to edit them, but I left one in one day and I ended up working with the guy because of it. Cause like, don't ask me how I found out about it, but I said, man, you're not gonna believe it, but that video I sent you, I meant to edit out that verse. And what I literally did was started like, hey, how are you? Oh crap. And then I was like, okay, I'll edit that out. Hey, how are you doing today? I left all that in there. And then he was like, I appreciated that it was so real and raw that you were just like, I could tell, oh, sorry, my webcam kind of does that sometimes. I kind of appreciate, or he said, I appreciated that you left that in there. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk to you. And so it just kind of goes to show that you're like, oh, okay, sometimes we get so caught up on these little details, our voice, the fact that I stumbled, or maybe I didn't use a fancy word, or maybe I didn't use the industry terms, or, and to be honest with you, even when we're working on these brand messages for people, we've found that it's actually better if you don't use technical terms that confuse people. You want to just explain it in the way they're going to get it, so you can just literally.
Yeah, it's the same being in front of an investor. You start dropping industry terms. These are investors. They may invest in your space, but then they may not fully understand, all these acronyms. I think it was Zig Ziglar I think it was Zig Ziglar that said, unfortunately, that the education level here, or the reading level, is at the 8th grade. And so, write it, as Mark said, it's so simple. A 5-year-old could do it. Someone go find me a 5-year-old. So, just make it simple. Don't make it to where I have to, whether it's I'm reading or watching a video, to where I have to keep a thesaurus on my desk, right?
Yeah. And make it comfortable for yourself at first too, because it's just, I think about this when I started working out or something, like, and I'm still in the very beginning of that journey for myself too, but I had to keep it to where I could be consistent. It was more important to me when I started that you were going to stay with it and actually show up than it was that I had all the reps in the world, or that I, could just accomplish. And that's just what worked for me, is the point. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not an expert, but I think it's the same when it comes to content or anything on social media. And, there's tips and there's lots of things you can do. Like if you're nervous on camera, or you think you're going to, as soon as it turns on, you're going to be like, go live. Like, I know that's going to be terrifying, but it's like a tip we use for ourselves sometimes, to just go live on Facebook and talk about something, like throw yourself to the wolves, because after you do that a couple of times, you're going to start realizing that it's not that big of a deal. And, something I should have touched on earlier too, with like your videos, you're saying that you did all these videos and all this work and nobody was watching them. There's a lot more to it than just going live or creating videos. Like, you have to have people that you're engaging with. So, and you're good about this with, you're creating your Facebook groups, or you're putting out content, you engaging with people though. It's not just enough to post a status, you have to like actually comment on other people's stuff too. You have to be in other people's Facebook groups. Right. And I'm just like learning this myself, but if you're not in the community, they don't know who you are outside of, let me sell you my stuff. Like if they don't see, oh, he was in that group the other day helping so-and-so answer that one question, that's when people are going to start jumping on your videos, because they're going to be like, oh yeah, I like Michael. He was like, right. He was helping me out. He was inspiring me.
I think what we're learning, and you and I are kind of learning some of this together, is just do it. Just do it. Right. I know in the beginning, I've been in business a very long time, 36 years now, as an entrepreneur. And there's, it's just fear. We're worried about what people are going to say about us. We're worried about people going to, my cousin, Cliff, I know you'll say something about this. He's always saying something, but he's got my back, right? He's my tribe. And And I appreciate that. But it's guys like him and guys like you and other guys that are in your tribe that they'll call you on your shit, right? So it's not that they just have your back, because real friends, they're going to say, hey, dude, you got a booger hanging out of your nose, or you get home and you're like, man, I've had that all day long. What the hell? Why didn't one of my friends step up and say something? But it's the same with, using video. To me, I will not sit down and watch like these long hour-long webinars, but I see the value. Most of the time I was like, dang, is this thing going to be an hour long? But if it's something I really want to watch, I will spend the hour watching it, right? I'll sit there and take notes, and we do. So talk about short content, long content, and where those come into play.
I think that's just it. You just kind of said it too. If it's something that people want to watch, they'll watch it. But I do think, when you're just getting started, and again, I'm still just kind of figuring this out for myself, because I, up until now, have relied on business to come from other business or word of mouth. So just trying to get into this content game of because the biggest reason is because I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. We do this for other businesses all the time. We deliver a video for them that is tailored for a specific reason. We tell them how to deliver it, and they schedule Facebook ads and they do all these things with it. And then here I am, literally I haven't posted on my Instagram in 2 weeks, and it's
had this conversation about drinking your own Kool-Aid. We're great at helping people take their financials or their pitch deck, right? And telling that compelling story. That's what we tell people. What do you do for a living? Well, we help people tell compelling stories with their financials and pitch decks, so they attract more customers or more investors. Because a pitch deck is really just a sales deck with the opportunity for the investor, and you pull that out and now you have a sales deck. But it's like the two Chinese guys doing laundry for each other because they don't have time to do it for themselves. And I think we all struggle with trying to figure out, how do I convey to the world, whether it's, written or in a meme like Drewby likes to use, and I'm learning that too, but in video, because it's just easier to watch video than it is to read something, especially if it's some type of short format.
Yeah, that's just it too. And that's why, again, if you're editing it, you're able to tailor it and make it concise. But I think it's a personality piece. The reason I'll even do this for follow-ups with clients, if I got on and I know we hit it off, I sold them on the phone, we're going to do it, I'll still create, I use a service called Soapbox, but there's one called Loom. There's, I think you can do it with other services, but I'll send a Soapbox, and it lets you record it on your webcam, and you just go, and then you're able to even share your screen if you want, so you can have a little bit of functionality with. But basically, I don't use all that. I just send them a video that looks just like this, where I say, hey, it was really good talking with you. I'm super excited to get started on this, just to kind of recap some things we talked about, and and stumbling over my words and saying things that we laughed about. You just are touching with them one more time, but with personality. And so it's the same with content. Giving your personality, letting them see your face and who you are and how you act. Sometimes, your profile picture may look weird because that's how we do social media, and you post a status that might come off kind of terse. And, when you do it in a video, now they know how you feel. They know who you are, and I think that's the most important part when we're talking about creating content online. If I said, if nothing else was listened to this whole time we were in this podcast, right? So it would be, it's you. You need to wear, if you don't wear suits, don't wear suits. If you stumble over your words a little bit, or if you're somebody who likes to ramble, just do it at first. You'll figure it out, because you can't go into it and you're not going to be a pro at first. You got to work on it. And you start, like you said, with just doing it and getting out there and figuring it out, because what's going to come across is your personality, and people are going to go, oh, that was a little long of a video, and maybe not everything pertained to my business, but I like them. They have a really cool vibe, or they have a really bubbly personality, or whatever it may be. And that's going to help you not only qualify people more and get more touch points with them, but you're going to start to disqualify people too, which is something else you want. Oh, looks like you might be frozen. Oh, no, you're not. Wow, you were just so super still. I'm sorry. I guess I have to edit that out. Yeah. So disqualifying people is something that's so important too, right? You'll be able to disqualify them. And maybe those people are like, I don't like this guy. He's too straightforward. I don't know. It's just something I don't like about him. And that's good. Then you don't have to waste time, anymore. They can move on.
I love it when we eliminate I call them the tire kickers, right?
Yes.
I just posted something about price, on our Facebook group are you charging enough? Because I know we're all guilty of, man, I don't know. Are people really going to pay that? And then you find that people pay for value. People pay for
Yep. Yep, that's so true. And we have to talk about that. That's kind of why it's so important to get people on the phone, right? Or when you talk to someone, you can't just say like in a networking group. And honestly, I'm still guilty of posting my link when people are like, post your links, but I know it's not going to work. It does unless they already know of you. It just posting your link to your business is not enough. They got to know like what it is you really do. And it's even kind of why I lead when I tell people like I'm video producer. Yes, I'm in a video production, but everybody has an idea of what that means when they say it. And it's different for everyone. Some people think of me at like an event, with a bunch of cameras on tripods, just like walking around while some keynote speaker talks. And that's not really what we do. We like to do the story part. Well, I'm not going to be mad at you that you don't know that. That's my job to tell people that, to go out and evangelize what I do.
Yeah. So what you really do is tell compelling stories through video so that you as my customer generate more money.
Yes, that's the end goal because that's why you're doing it, right? What's the point of spending all this money on anything marketing wise if it's not going to get you money?
You got likes, just all this stuff. And you don't really need any of that. You just need a phone or a camera for most stuff. But so why would someone take, in the beginning, just video off their phone versus hiring you?
So with your phones, I'll say too, because we kind of touched on making content and your stuff. There's no reason okay, let me say it like this. We will still use phones and stuff that we're paid to make because we know that it's going to come across better. And even if it's maybe not shot on a phone, we'll shoot it in the taller aspect ratio so that it is consumed easier. It's all about what the video needs to solve first and then like where it's going to live, what dictates how it's created and how long. And because, but why you might pay for one or why you might start looking into it, first and foremost, whether the cameras or lights are even there is and I myself specifically, this may not be every video production company and they all have their strong suits. And this isn't to knock the guys, by the way, I feel like I should have said this sooner, that aren't just, we call them tripods in my business, like that are just hired to do what they're told. Like there's still value in that. We will still hire them ourselves to come and shoot stuff for us if we need to do that or if they're in a different place.
We've done that.
Yeah. So, but you would hire video when you need it to be like, if it's an evergreen, the best thing I can say is like interviewing. And I don't use that word interview anymore because it sounds like you have to like prepare and think. We're just going to sit down and have a conversation just like me and you were doing, but you can't interview yourself. You can't. And even if you could sit down and kind of just talk and you feel like you're going to get through it, I guarantee you I can put together a better story for you just by talking to you because I can listen to what you're saying and go, okay, he just set me up beautifully talking about what he does. Now let me ask him a question that gets him to tell me why that is important to his customer. Because like your customer watching is going to be like, oh, that's so good. I love that you care more about, but like the video story, but why does the story matter in a video? Now let's answer that question where they can be like, oh, because, okay.
You know what celebrity does that really well is Kevin Hart. You ever watch him?
Yes.
He'll always tell me more about, and I love that phrase, tell me more about a time or tell me more about that. And it's when you start looking at business, but you look at the celebrity world or film, and I love film. So I'm always looking for things like that. And I find it interesting that he says that quite often.
That's the trick too. I'll give you like total insight in what I do. It's always digging deeper. So when they tell you something, don't just take the first answer. And when they're just like, oh, I do X, no, they'll be like, but what does that mean? And also be skeptical. Like in your mind, when they tell you stuff, pretend that you don't believe what they're saying. Make them prove it to you. Sometimes by getting confrontational, I mean, I'm going to use big quotes here. You don't want to piss anybody off. You don't want them to you're still having a good conversation, but sometimes just pushing someone just a little bit further into being like, come on, like, I don't believe you. Tell me what it is, like, tell me the truth here, or give me more. Like you get that last question usually is where they kind of like sit up a little bit, their energy comes across, and they really, I wouldn't say dumb it down, but they really say it in a way that people go, oh, okay, that's what we usually use when we cut the video in the end. And that's how, like, when we walk out of these interviews, we will have people say to us like, wow, man, I don't know what it is, but like, I forgot the camera was there. It's like the best thing that we can ever hear. Or, man, you got me to come alive, or everything I said, I felt like I didn't sound like an idiot, or like I was making it up, or, you know, and we have to drive deeper, like you just said, tell me more about that, and like really get them to explain, you know, with like in every detail that you can. And that's what makes it so powerful in the end. So I would say, tying it back to your question, is that when it comes to hiring, it's really things like that. That's just one thing. But, you know, even if it's somebody else, if you don't have the budget for it, just having somebody else interview you is going to come off way better than you just trying to say it to yourself. And so we kind of think about things like that, like, how can we make it better than you can do yourself, even though a phone may be the only way to shoot this or something? Does that make sense?
That's great.
Yeah, I think I got like a little, I like I started to space out a little bit, even on my own thought there at the end.
That's great. It's good stuff. I think we've learned a lot. So just kind of sum it up, start with what you have. Just do it. Don't worry about your voice. Don't worry about, and we'll learn as we stumble through it. I remember in the old days, you know, when I say old days, probably 20 years ago, I videoed the first talk I ever did, you know, on a big, remember the old big camcorders? And I went back to watch it, and it was horrible. I was on stage, I was talking, but the one thing I noticed was I had keys in my pocket, or change. I can't remember what it was, but I was jingling them the whole time. It was like, you know, and all I could see in the video was this noise, and everyone else watched it, and it was like, we didn't notice that at all. But now if I go on stage or do something like that, I make sure my pockets are completely empty. So it's just little things. And
Yeah.
I think Michael also told me that, you know, if you are doing an interview and you're wearing a jacket, like pull your jacket under your butt, right? So that when you go to, you know, otherwise you're slouching. You know,
I think I got that going on right now.
Yeah. So when I saw an interview, when we did an interview with him a few years ago under one of our old brands, I was slouching, and I showed him the film, and he goes, take your jacket and pull it really tight under your butt. That way, if you go to slouch, you know, it tightens up, it makes you sit up. He goes, because the camera really does, you know, just accentuates everything. But
yeah.
But
you know, it's funny, the change jingle for me, it's this chair. I'll be in Zoom meetings, the swaying back and forth, and I'll see myself later and go, just sit still, dude. But yeah, nobody notices. And I think even for me, you know, when it comes to creating content, whenever you're doing things and trying to get into space, you have to, because this is like, even at the risk of like cutting myself out of business here, video is just a tool. It really all comes down to like, how are you out there networking with people? How are you good at sales? Because like with sales, you can make a video that helps close people. You know, you can use a video that helps onboard them, or at least maybe that's not the term, but before you get on a call with them, it helps qualify / disqualify them. It gets them jazzed up about working with you, so that when you get on the phone, right? But it's just a tool. You still got to get on the phone, and you still got to sell. You still got to, you know how to network with people so that when they are friends with you, they actually care about watching your videos. So I'm still learning a lot of that networking and stuff myself. So trust me when I say this is something that's like really fresh in my mind. But yeah, it's with TikTok, with Instagram, with whatever it is, just like taste it, you know, go out there, do a taste test, make a video. If you're embarrassed or whatever, and it's just going to kill you to have it, like, I guess, delete it. But, you know, as you start trying things, you realize this is not so bad. And then as people comment and go, hey, this is really cool, man, the people that support you will, you know, applaud you, and then it gets easier. So just do it.
I think, trust me, I've gone back and looked at film in video, whether on my phone or, you know, a webcam or a professional camera, right? I think they were using the D8s back then. And a lot of films are shot with, you know, just cameras these days, because, I mean, we're talking big budget films. But I look at some of those old videos, and I'm just like, oh man, and they're just ugly and brutal. But I keep them out there, all right? Because the way I say, it's really comes down to what's the message you're trying to convey.
Yep. I think people will find value in seeing it later too. I think it's cool when you can go back and watch people that you look up to or that have made it, and you can see where they came from. And also, maybe this is for the wrong reasons, but I'm going to leave my YouTube videos up that are trash, and I'll be able to tell people, like, you can literally go back and watch. Like, I did vlogs for a while. You can see every little, road bump that I went through to try and get where I am. Like, you can watch it if you want to spend all that time doing it.
Right. It's funny. There's also some B-roll blooper stuff that when we were doing green screen stuff, my youngest daughter, Allegra, she wanted to play with the green screen. And so we had all these different hats. And so she'd run into the camera and she'd have a big circus hat and she'd do something to do with the circus, and she'd come back with a sombrero and, and she was, hey, my name's Michael Gilbert. And then she'd come back and go, no, I'm the real Michael Gilbert. And then she'd come back with a different hat and go, I'm Michael Gilbert. This is Michael Gilbert with, whatever brand we're using at the time. And she just, and so I still have that film of her doing that. I was looking at some old, on an external hard drive, I was looking at all that stuff. It's pretty funny. So I'm like, I wonder how I can repurpose that content.
Yes, you literally stole the words. I was going to say there'll be a time, especially as you start creating more content, that, you should throw back. You should laugh at yourself if it's bad, or you should go, hey, old Michael or past Michael was like onto something there. Like, let's, that to me, it's all about like what naturally comes up in the day and going, oh, that would be a good piece of content. And then like, now go do it, or put a to-do list to do it tomorrow and like get it out. Don't sit on it. Make it, sit it out, go and just do that.
Here's why I like video. One, there's so many platforms out there that will convert what we're saying, the text, to a Word document. So I can repurpose a video into video, audio, and text and plaster, hey, pick a platform, right?
Yep.
I can put it on a blog. I can put it in a newsletter. I have video. I've got the audio. I do a podcast, and there's so many free platforms out there. What are some of the platforms that you see out there that are free that people can get started on as far as audio, video?
So like the biggest one that I think is like really cool right now that I'm saying, and I don't have a lot of experience with Loom, but it pretty much does the same thing, but Soapbox, I think that you could get started if you have a webcam to where you could start creating content with that and be able to edit and screen share if you want to. Obviously your phone, if you can just get it on your phone, we could start there. That's probably where I should have started. There's little apps, like one of them is called InShot, that'll let you edit videos on your phone. So you literally really don't have to have a computer. Just shoot it on your phone. You can edit with InShot and save it out and then upload it to your platforms. And I hope that's what you're asking. Were you asking platforms as far as social media? Yeah. So there's other apps. If you kind of dig around, like Adobe, which is the big software, they have a phone version app that's a little bit more advanced, and you can do more advanced things with like layering video clips and stuff like that. But there are apps that are as easy. I'm going to bring up Soapbox again, that will allow you to just hit go. It counts you down. You just talk to your webcam, and then you can kind of trim the beginning and the ending off. You can change, to where you show your screen, and that will allow you. I mean, maybe you're a web designer that's going to go pitch clients on web development. You could literally send them a video where you're just in a little circle on the bottom talking to them, but pointing out things on their website. I think you could do the same thing with content in your space. You talked about with pitch decks and stuff. You could literally use this to, create it for your social media.
We have a whole series.
So it really just kind of
just that on how to use our template for spreadsheets and how to create a pitch deck. So we have both of that coming out. I didn't.
Yeah, and you can use
I think it was Loom. Once I saw Loom, I'm like, I'm going to redo it and do it over there.
Yeah, and you can use it, like I said, and this is something just because I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm lazy or something, but the creating a follow-up for people, because I could send them an email, I could send them a text, but I've gotten like addicted to being able to, and I'll do it with my phone sometimes. I will literally in the text message pull up the video,
right?
Because it lets you send a video to people, and I will pull it out and be driving down the road if I need to and be like, hey, just following up with you, or something I do that's a great example of this is before an interview. If we're doing an interview for a client and I know they're going to be nervous, I will send them a video and be like, listen, everything's going to be fine tomorrow. You're going to do great. Just don't spend all night thinking about what you're going to say. We're going to get exactly what you need. I promise. We do it all the time. And it helps because people will come back and they'll be like, thanks for sending that. Or I'm really glad you sent that because yeah, I've been in my head all day. So, but I do it in video on purpose because it's one, like I said, it's easier for me. I don't have to type a bunch of text and remember to send an email. But I think as I'm figuring out that it just is helping me connect with people more. So, start finding other ways that you can use it in when you send emails to people or when you're talking to prospects or, I guess I'm trying to think of other ways that you might be talking to someone, but you can use it in communication basically more than just social media and stuff like that. And it really does. Even cold calling, which I don't guess it's really if you're sending it in an app or something, but you could literally send an Instagram direct message DM of a video of yourself just saying like, hey,
That's great stuff. Good insights. So how do people reach you?
So my website's good. It's workwithbc.com, BC for Burke Creative. You can find me on the web too. Like I'm really big lately about just friending people personally. That's how me and you found each other. So my name is Chris Burke. If you search for me on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, whatever, even TikTok, I'm on there. I haven't done anything really yet, but I'm just starting to get into the reels of Instagram.
Soon?
Say that again.
We're going to see you dancing soon.
Maybe. I honestly, there's times when I see people do it that I know are probably more like me, and I'm like, maybe I should. But I know my mind is like, no, we're not dancing.
Yeah,
we're not dancing.
Yeah, my kid. No, they were like, oh, Dad, no. They were on Snapchat, and I'm like, oh, I heard we can do business on Snapchat, and my, no, Dad, that's creepy. I'm like, add me. No, that's creepy.
Yeah, I haven't done the Snapchat yet. I don't know anything about that one. I think that one
I don't need
just
I was banned by 4 daughters. No, Dad. I think it was 3 or 4. It's hard to get them all together now because they're all getting older. But I think one year they were all sitting on the couch and they're all giggling because it's all girls, but they're not talking. And I said, are you guys texting each other? I'm like, yeah. They're all on Snapchat talking to each other. Like, what are you talking about? You? I'm like, oh, well, then, okay. What do you want for dinner? So, but anyway.
Yep, that's what Snapchat is, video texting.
Yeah. I'll stick to what I know.
Yeah, same.
So we always like to end with, what's the one word that defines entrepreneurship for you?
Oh, freedom. I think that's the biggest one. I worked in the corporate world forever. I know what it's like. I had a good job, had the benefits and all that stuff, but working for somebody else is just not where it's at for me. Maybe it's not for everyone, but it gave me freedom, like to, and to be truthful, I do work more for myself than I did for the other people, but I still am able to make my own schedule and I'm able to call the shots. That's the biggest thing. Calling the shots for me was something. It's not, some people think about having time and all that stuff. I think I was really, working for a corporation that's like, we can't put out this content because it doesn't align with this, or even though, as like a web developer or a social media person, you're like, this is going to do better. You have to speak to your like this, and they won't let you do it because of all the rules and all the, the board, the hire, like everything that's there. And when you own your own business, you can say, I'm doing it this way. I don't care because it's my business and I can do what I want.
Yeah.
I love that.
What's the maxim? Entrepreneurs will work double the hours for half the pay.
Yep. It's true.
So,
but it is more fulfilling though.
Well, you said it. It's about freedom. So,
yep.
Chris Burke, Burke Creative, thank you so much for coming on Street Smart today. I think you left our listeners and viewers some great insights on why video. And if you need to reach, tell us your website again. It's
workwithbc.com. If that does, can you hear me okay on that one? But yeah, workwithbc.com.
I'll throw up a little closer banner there for you and they can reach you there. So, but thanks for coming on and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.